If you are over the age of 75 and you've spent years believing that eggs are the best possible food to protect your muscles, I want you to pause for a moment and really listen. Not because eggs are dangerous, and not because you were misled on purpose, but because the advice that worked decades ago does not always work the same way in an aging body. And this misunderstanding has quietly contributed to muscle loss, weakness, and loss of independence in millions of older adults. This is not information most people hear in a doctor's office. It's not something commonly explained on television. But it's something that comes up again and again when orthopedic specialists, physical therapists, and aging researchers talk among themselves after decades of working with seniors who struggle with mobility, balance, and strength. For many years, eggs were considered nearly perfect. High-quality protein, affordable, familiar, and easy to prepare. And for younger adults, eggs can still be a useful food. But after the age of 75, the body changes in ways that make relying on eggs alone far less effective than most people realize. One of the biggest mistakes we make when talking about aging is assuming that the body simply runs out of strength. In reality, aging muscles don't usually fail because of age itself. They fail because the signals they rely on become weaker, slower, or blocked altogether. Orthopedic professionals often explain that muscle loss after 75 is not just about how much protein someone eats, but whether their muscles can actually hear and respond to that protein. As we age, digestion changes. Stomach acid levels decline. Digestive enzymes become less efficient. The gut lining becomes more sensitive. At the same time, low-level inflammation quietly increases throughout the body. Muscle cells also become more resistant to anabolic signals, the chemical messages that tell them to repair and rebuild. Researchers call this anabolic resistance, but in everyday terms, it simply means that the muscle stops responding to food the way it used to. Egg protein relies heavily on fast digestion and strong signaling pathways. In younger bodies, this works well. But after 75, much of that protein passes through the system without fully activating muscle repair. So someone can eat eggs faithfully every morning and still watch their legs weaken over time. This leads to frustration, confusion, and the belief that decline is inevitable. That belief is one of the most damaging myths in senior health. Orthopedic specialists who treat fractures and falls often notice that muscle loss accelerates right before mobility declines. Weak muscles lead to poor balance. Poor balance increases fall risk. And falls are often the beginning of a much larger health decline. That's why nutrition that truly supports muscle tissue becomes so important later in life. This is where certain cheeses come into the conversation. Not all cheese, and not in unlimited amounts, but specific types that are fermented and aged in ways that fundamentally change how their proteins behave in the body. Cheese is not just milk with less water. Through fermentation, cheese becomes a biologically active food. Proteins are partially broken down. Beneficial bacteria develop. Fat-soluble vitamins concentrate. And compounds form that aging muscles can still recognize and respond to. Unlike eggs, cheese proteins don't rely entirely on youthful digestion. They're already partially processed. This makes them easier to absorb and more effective at activating secondary muscle pathways that remain functional even in older age. These pathways involve muscle stem cells, mitochondrial repair, and inflammation control, areas where eggs offer little support. One of the milder but still useful options is Swiss cheese. Swiss cheese contains a fermentation compound called propionic acid. This compound has been associated with improved muscle endurance and stimulation of muscle stem cells, which are responsible for repairing damaged muscle fibers. Swiss cheese is also rich in vitamin K2, a nutrient that supports energy production within muscle cells and helps prevent muscle tissue from breaking down prematurely. Another often overlooked benefit of Swiss cheese is its content of sphingolipids, which help maintain the structure of muscle cell membranes. As muscles age, these membranes become more fragile, making muscle fibers more prone to damage. Swiss cheese supports the integrity of these membranes, helping preserve muscle function over time. When eaten at room temperature and paired with simple carbohydrates like whole grain bread, Swiss cheese provides slow, steady support rather than dramatic changes. Ricotta cheese works through a different mechanism. Ricotta is rich in whey protein, particularly alpha-lactalbumin. This protein has been linked to improved sleep quality and enhanced nighttime recovery. Sleep is one of the most underestimated factors in muscle health after 75. Poor sleep disrupts hormone production, increases inflammation, and interferes with muscle repair. Many seniors wake up stiff, sore, or weaker than they felt the day before. This is often not because of activity, but because the body didn't repair itself properly overnight. Ricotta helps support the hormonal environment needed for muscle recovery, including gentle stimulation of growth hormone release. When eaten in the morning, especially with small additions like honey and cinnamon, ricotta provides easily absorbed protein without overwhelming digestion. Parmesan cheese takes muscle support even further. Properly aged Parmesan contains crystallized amino acids that form during long fermentation periods, often lasting 2 years or more. These amino acid crystals are already broken down to a degree that allows them to bypass some digestive limitations. This makes them particularly useful for older adults with slower digestion. Parmesan also contains bioactive peptides produced by beneficial bacteria during aging. These peptides help reduce chronic inflammation, which is one of the biggest obstacles to muscle repair in older adults. Inflammation blocks muscle signaling and weakens contraction strength. By reducing this background inflammation, Parmesan helps muscles respond more effectively to nutrition and movement. When freshly grated and added to warm foods, it supports muscle recovery without placing stress on the digestive system. Cottage cheese may not sound exciting, but it plays a crucial role in many orthopedic-informed nutrition strategies. Cottage cheese is rich in casein protein, which digests slowly and provides a steady release of amino acids over several hours. This slow delivery is especially important at night, when the body performs much of its repair work. Many older adults lose muscle not during the day, but overnight. Without a steady supply of amino acids, muscle tissue breaks down faster than it can be rebuilt. Cottage cheese helps prevent this overnight loss. Its natural sodium content also supports hydration and nutrient transport, which becomes increasingly important as thirst perception declines with age. Then there is the cheese that surprises almost everyone the first time they hear about it. Authentic Greek feta made from sheep's milk. Not cow's milk feta, but traditional sheep's milk feta aged properly. This cheese contains unique compounds that are rarely found together in modern diets, including conjugated linoleic acid and spermidine. Conjugated linoleic acid has been associated with improved muscle function and reduced inflammation. Spermidine plays a role in autophagy, the process by which the body clears out damaged proteins and cellular debris. In aging muscle, this process becomes less efficient, leading to weaker, less responsive tissue. By supporting autophagy, sheep's milk feta helps muscles function more efficiently with the tissue they already have. What makes this cheese particularly powerful is how its proteins are delivered. The fermentation process creates small bioactive fragments that aging muscles can still respond to. Orthopedic and aging specialists have observed improvements in balance, walking speed, and strength in older adults who include small, consistent amounts of this cheese in their diets, even without increasing exercise. Eggs are not harmful. They simply rely on biological systems that weaken with age. Cheese, particularly fermented and aged varieties, bypasses many of those limitations. It supports mitochondrial function, reduces inflammation, and improves protein utilization in ways that eggs cannot match after a certain point in life. The most important factor in all of this is consistency. Muscles don't respond to occasional changes or short-term efforts. They respond to repeated, gentle signals over time. Small daily amounts of the right foods, eaten correctly, can create cumulative effects that support strength and independence far longer than most people expect. Weakness after 75 is not always inevitable. In many cases, it's the result of outdated advice that hasn't kept up with what we now understand about aging physiology. The body is still capable of responding. The muscles are still capable of repair. They're simply waiting for signals they can still recognize. If this information helps you or someone you care about, consider sharing it. Many older adults are quietly struggling under the assumption that decline is unavoidable, when in reality, their bodies may simply need a different kind of support. And if you want to continue learning how to stay strong, steady, and independent as you age, stay connected here and subscribe to this channel. Sometimes it's not about doing more. Sometimes it's about doing something differently, and letting your body respond in ways you were never told were still possible.